And I like to work by myself. I like to be in a room creating things, building landing pages, running traffic to them, blah, 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 and letting those things sit and make money, right? But then I said, well, I want this new level. And to get that new level, it meant, now I didn't get specific. This is where I made a mistake, Rob. I didn't say it. And I want it to be like this, and I want it to be from, I just asked for the additional money. And it says,
Hmm.
fine, here's some clients. And I was like, clients? Oh my gosh. And now all the personalities that come with that, all the expectations that come with that. This business podcast, the Two Business Guys Mastermind, uncovers for you secrets and share tips and tricks to entrepreneurship as they mastermind on how to have startup, operational, and overall business success so that you can go on to get better results. Enjoy.
So yes, that idea is amazing.
So everybody, on today's episode, Rob and I have been doing a lot of reading and all this kind of stuff, and we want to share a couple of things with you. And we'll get to that in a second. But one of the topic of conversation that's top of mind for both of us is,
Hmm.
what happens when your business gives you what you want, right?
Right.
So we want our business
AKA,
to
be
go.
careful what you wish for.
We want our business to 10x. We want all these different things, and then all of a sudden you start seeing the things that suggest it's going to do exactly what you asked of it. But life also brings additional things. Now, Rob was, and he's going to share an example of, and I'll share some examples too. We were both feeling a little bit of stuff we don't normally feel. I don't normally feel overwhelmed by nothing. I design my life in a way I can take 2 hour baths if I want to in the middle of the day. Okay. But now we have an ask of our business, bring me $100,000 or $10,000, $1,000. Now think about it. This is you, extra a month, whatever it is. And then it says, okay. And you're like, well, wait, whoa, I wasn't prepared for that. Because life also says, well, in order to do that, you must do this. And a book that Rob, I think if you want to share, Rob, I started reading it too, and it's awesome. But it
Hmm.
speaks to that exact thing. And
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
want to share
yeah,
the name of the book and all
yeah.
that?
So yeah, the book that we're talking about, and I love this book. I'm actually taking my team. We're doing our professional development and going through this book because this is actually going to be our mantra for next year. And what we're trying to do is a book by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy called 10x is easier than 2x. Right. So growing 10 times is easier than growing 2 times.
I didn't believe it, y'all. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, what is
Yeah.
that?
Now when I saw the title, I was like, I gotta see what they talking about. Because I've heard 10x, 10x, 10x. You got Grant
Of course.
Cardone, you got the 10x Academy or Institute at Google, you got all this type of stuff. But I was like, yeah, whatever. Then you read it and you start to understand certain fundamental things about why it changes things. And I think to Randy's point, that overwhelm, that anxiety, same thing. Like I very rarely feel overwhelmed. I very rarely feel anxious about anything. That's just how I've kind of constructed my life and taking ownership of mastering my time and doing the things that I need to do. But when you get to ready to make these leaps, get ready to make these changes, things happen. And the most interesting thing that stuck out to me was right. And I worked over it with my business coach and the mentals of it and everything, because it was really interesting to see that you have to remember, and the book talks about this, your 10x life is not going to resemble your current life, right? It can't. It's an impossibility, right? You can't get 10 times better. Right. Think about whenever you got 10 times better at anything. Like, so go from when you were in high school and you might make $100 to $1,000 a month, right? And then you get a job and you're making five, six, seven, $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
It's a completely different experience,
Yeah.
right? Like you're doing different things. You're living a different world,
Driving
like
different
full-time work,
cars.
right? Driving different cars, living in a different place, having different bills, right? Like responsible for different tasks, right? And so one of the interesting things about that whole process is you have to get ready for, and Robert Kiyosaki talks about this in Cash Flow Quadrant as well, right? Most people think that we desire what we want, we do what's necessary to get it, and then we become this new person. The reality is it's actually reversed. You have to become the person, right? So for me, we're trying to take our business from multiple six figures to seven figures and eight figures over the next couple of years. And I really realized that it's important for me to become the type of person that runs a 7 and 8 figure business way before I ever am doing the things and have a 7 and 8 figure business. It can't go the other way, because if it goes the other way, if you have it first, right? These are the classic hellscape stories that you hear about people where they
The
get
lottos
forced
and all that.
into,
Yeah.
right? They get forced into a situation that they're not prepared for,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's all of the things, and it just makes it so that you hate being in the situation. And so ultimately, where we are, and this is the part that for me was like, it was an aha moment. It was like everything that I'm dealing with, because I mean, stuff was just coming out of the woodworks, like just all types of different things. And it's not bad things, it's all good things. But the anxiety is my transaction load went from, maybe 5 to 10 separate transaction instances in a month, right? So batching, I've got, my bills that I got to pay for work. I got payroll. I got my bills that I got to pay for the house, but I got 2 times that I got to pay, right? Like, so I just got to check money maybe 5, at most 10 times a month, to now I'm having to check and having multiple transactions multiple times a month that I'm having to look at because I'm doing a lot of different things. And it's like
And
that
life don't stop
peace,
lifing, right?
right? Life doesn't stop lifing. And so that sense of peace that you have with, I got everything under control, everything is working, my systems are working, all the rest of that, it evaporates. And
Yes.
it's not that you don't have everything under control. You just don't have the sense of peace knowing that your systems are working. You're having to check and you're having to constantly be on it. And I was talking with my business coach, and it was like, thing you have to remember is that's the life that you're aspiring to.
That's
The
that 10x life.
reality is
That 10x life,
exactly when
not
you're
that 2x
doing
stuff.
when you're doing $80,000 or more of business a month, which is what a seven-figure business is doing, you have to recognize that that's the reason why you have weekly CFO briefings. That's the reason why you have daily P&L looks, right? Like that's the reason why you have daily balance sheets and financial reports, because lots of stuff is happening, right? You just look at it. My business in a year will be doing 10 times the amount of work that it's doing right now,
Yes. And some of
right?
Rob's work is I got to show up and fulfill.
Right.
Same concept on my end. I said, okay, business, when I decided to come out of my, retirement again, because I like retiring young,
Right, Tom Brady.
something, and then, the pile gets small, and you kind of go, I got to go back and get some money. But and that's the beauty of that 10x,
Hmm.
that 1099 life. But anyway, so I asked the business, I said, what more you can do? And the business looked back at me, y'all follow me here. Look back at me and says, well, are you gonna do more? Because you like to just chill. And I like to work by myself. I like to be in a room creating things, building landing pages, running traffic to them, blah, 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 and letting those things sit and make money, right? But then I said, well, I want this new level. And to get that new level, it meant, now I didn't get specific. This is where I made a mistake, Rob. I didn't say it. And I want it to be like this, and I want it to be from, I just asked for the additional money. And it says,
Hmm.
fine, here's some clients. And I was like, clients? Oh my gosh. And now all the personalities that come with that, all the expectations that come with that. My system was set up for me to run it, to create, set, forget, collect a check.
Yeah.
Right? The affiliate model, the whole thing. Now it is fulfillment, conversations with customers,
Yeah.
customer satisfaction, all that. But what happens when your business gives you what you ask for?
AKA, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it.
So that becomes something that Rob is doing a lot of work in. And I want to show you all a example of something I just came out of a really big coaching session, like a 4-week sprint, and some things that at the end of it, this last one, this is what I asked of him. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. So I talked about this. I said, okay, here it is, everybody. Can you see this all right, Rob?
Yep.
All right. So I had put this together for a presentation a long time ago, but it talked about planning. And then in there, we also talked about, goal setting and, what is the three goals for your business in 30 seconds, right? And all these kind of things, right? And then we talk about, and this is from the Co-Starters book, so this is not mine, but we talk about the 30, 60, 90-day plan. But here's the part, and this is from Sabri Subi's book, Sell Like Crazy. We talked about that 80-20 principle, and one of the biggest things is we start saying, okay, because you're asking bigger things of your business, you need to become a 10x person. That means you're going to have to look at all of your activities and begin to ask questions of them. We start talking about which one are low yielding, which one are high yielding, which should you be doing. And Rob, see, he has a team. He's put together this whole thing, and I was like, hey man, it's me and some virtual assistants and some Fiverr people and all that kind of stuff, right? But look at this. We start thinking about, okay, here's very important things to do or not do. Here's very important things to do, but also this is the part that a lot of people hadn't even thought of. What about what I won't do? And this is what the 10X folks were talking about. They're saying, hey, when you become a 10X person, there's some things that you're absolutely going to say no to.
Forbidden from doing.
They are no's.
Yep.
That's that focusing. That's why they said 10X, because I couldn't understand, like, how is that possible? It's because when you have to do 10X, you will not have time to do some of the things that you like. I used to like writing proposals because I get a chance to put my stuff in there. And now we got AI that'll help with that. You may get joy out of cooking for the family and all that kind of stuff. Well, there may be some things that you have to say no to. And then you start thinking about this, sales calls. Because guess what, Rob? When I started doing more work, they started seeing more of it. People started asking, hey, could you do that for me? So now more clients are coming, knocking on my door, my lone door, and saying, I've seen your work out there. I see what you do. Could you do that for me? And it's like, you try to charge a higher price and they go, that's fine.
Yep. We'll
now
pay
you have to fulfill. So here's this next one. This is a key one right here, Ron. I had the entrepreneurs do this. I says, listen, if you're still working a job, now when you start becoming 10X, you ask your business things, if it's a side hustle, whatever, it starts getting some traction. You can look at every single thing, whether you're working a job or the business is giving you money, and you break it down into hours. In other words, value your time. This is Sabri Subi's Sell Like Crazy. You start thinking about delegating and outsourcing and then doing nothing. So I gave some examples and I had them tell me some things you would delegate. Long before the business grew big, tell me some things that you would immediately delegate if you got this kind of busy. What would you outsource? Yep. And then what would you decide to not do at all?
Yes.
Now, y'all feeling me on this. If y'all like what you're hearing, if you're seeing this on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, send it to somebody. Because this is some of the stuff that we continually have to ask of ourselves. How am I doing these things long before? Just put it in place.
Yep.
Right. And Rob is really good to talk to about that. Just put it in place. And then one, Rob, I had pulled from one of your books. It was like they were saying, okay, I got this. It really I put a goal out there. And I says, let's think more about activities so that when you do the activities, you blow past the goal. Because if you get the goal, hit it, you get depressed because it's like, I didn't realize I was going to get there that fast. But you're 10Xing now. You may get there faster than you thought. So if you continue with certain activities, you can continue those and you continue to blow past goals versus just making a goal. And then this is the last thing. Now, I didn't hit them with this one, Rob, because this was too much. They couldn't handle this. I kid you not. Look at this.
Yes.
What are you doing all day?
Yes.
Again, from Sabri Subi's Sell Like Crazy book. What are you doing all day? When I'm telling you, there's a power in this. When you put down what are you doing in half-hour increments, and I do this sometimes. I set a clock. Literally, I set a 90-minute clock. an alarm and it goes off, and then I write, what did I do? What did I get done? And if I find
Mm-hmm.
myself foo-fooing around, I stop. Because sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
hit TikTok and I checked out an email when I shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
This right
Mm-hmm.
here gets you to go, and you can of course extend it past 1 o'clock. But what are you doing during those times? Taking a look at it, deciding on what you determine as the value of your time. And I told somebody this: stop stealing from your business. What do you mean? Because you're
Yes.
stealing time,
Yep.
right? Can you delegate it? Can you outsource it? Can you just say, I'm not doing it? And then
Yes.
always, 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 y'all, consider this: 80% of activities, these activities, are only going to bring you
Mm-hmm.
20%.
Yep.
But 20% of these bring you the
Yeah.
lion's share or lioness share, however you want to say that, of your revenue.
And I
So
love
when
it
we think
because
about that 10x,
yeah,
it's
that's because
easier
that's
than
what one of
2x.
the things they talk about in the 10X and that whole thing. And this is the part that I think a lot of people get stuck on with that. Is not only is it the 80/20 principle that 80% of what you do is basically wasted. It's not wasted. It's bringing you in 1/5 of what you're doing, but 20% is bringing you in the gross majority. But the thing is, as you move from level to level, that 80/20 changes. So something that I talk about in the Thriving in Chaos course is when you look at 80% of the athletes in a school will not make basketball team, football team, um, track team, whatever. They won't make that team. It's only the top 20% of athletes that will play the games for the school that will represent the school in high school.
Mhm.
Here's the crazy thing: 80% of the people that play high school ball won't make it to college ball. It's only the top 20% that'll make it to college ball. Now, once you make it to college ball, you're the top 20% of that high school group, but less than 20% of people that make it to college ball will make it to professional ball.
That Pareto principle works no matter what.
Yep.
So
And
that
so you
20%
have to constantly be looking at your performance at the level that you are, because and it's what they talk about in the 10X. And it's difficult because what it means is generally you will have to give away stuff that you like doing or stuff that you love doing.
Ooh,
And that's what's really hard for a lot of people. It's not that everything that you're going to give away is going to be stuff that gets on your nerves. There's a lot of stuff that like in my company, I like getting on sales calls and engaging with people and all the rest of that. But what I realize is in order to do sales calls, is one of the reasons why we're building a sales team, we're building a client management team, we're building our marketing team. It's not that I'm not comfortable or competent at doing these things. Obviously, if you build a six-figure business, multiple six-figure business, you have to be competent at these things.
yeah,
But what I learned is even if I'm competent at it, there's somebody else who can be excellent.
yes.
And I can't be excellent at it because I have too many other things that I have to focus on. I can only be excellent at a small group of things. It's hard to be excellent at 12 things.
You can't be CEO of them. I was listening to your point, Rob, listening to a podcast the other day, and a guy on there has, created multiple, get this, $1 billion companies. And they were like, how did you do this? He says, I long ago decided, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, that
Mhm.
I can't be CEO of them all. So, that's the first thing you want to put out. I run this. He says, you can't run them all. He says, but I'm chairman of each.
Exactly. Because you
That
can be chairman
changed
of the board,
everything.
right?
You
Exactly.
decided what to say no to. I'm not running.
Exactly.
I'm getting a good team. And then he says, and this was so surprising. He says, they thought, oh, you must be funding these things to a high level. He says, I take what Rob always says. This is not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's a marathon, not a sprint. He says, I take the
Mhm.
long view, A. Then he says, I get a team of good people, B, but I have an exciting business that a team would want to be a part of. And then
Mhm.
he's the chairman when it either goes public or somebody throws a big investment in it. He has a proven model. People
Mhm.
are excited. the
hmm
business is, got product market fit,
Yep.
long
And
view, and he's the chairman, and he didn't have to take those calls in the middle of the night.
yeah, and Randy, you know this because we've talked about it a number of times off camera. I told you, like, I will never build a business the way that I've built this business ever again. Right. And I always, Randy laughs at me every time I say it, but I'm like, this is the hardest way to build a business. And the way that I built this business for those of you all out there is probably a lot of the same way that you all built a business, which is I had an idea. I worked really hard. I built that idea. I was everything. I was the marketer. I was the salesperson. I was the receptionist. I was everything that existed in the business. I did. I wore all the hats. And then slowly but surely, I gave a hat to this person and I gave a hat to this person and I gave a hat to this person. And we're building and we're building. And I'm constantly shedding hats. But business is hindered by my ability to offload hats because I've built systems that are centered around me that I now have to bring other people in to be able to do the systems. I will never, ever start another business this way. Going forward, and I'm going to start. Randy and I've talked about this. Like I've got 10 different business ideas that are happening in the next decade. But here's how I'm starting every other business. For example, we just started a nonprofit. Here's how we started the nonprofit. I had an idea. I went and I got a board of people that were, it's an amazing idea. Yes, let's keep doing this. Let's try to make this good happen in the world. I then went and found somebody who was doing, we had a program that we wanted to start. Got it. We're starting that program. I went and found somebody to run that program, hired them, brought the board in, brought the group in. I literally show up to 2 meetings a month for this organization, and I write the check from my other business to fund the organization. All of the work that's done in the organization is done by a group of people, either my executive team on the nonprofit or the people that are running the program. There are decisions that get made that are way better than anything I would have ever thought of. They do it. Boom, 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 boom. That's how I'm going to start every other. I'm going to, if I start a business, if I start anything going forward now, first, I'll have an idea. Excuse me. And then I'll go get the team that's going to execute that idea.
That's it.
And then I remove whatever obstacles that team needs to executing that idea, because now we have 4 moms that are going through our Legacy Moms program. We got all this stuff that I don't have to do anything. I'm running this business over here while this thing is running and doing great, amazing things in the world. Every other business that I start, you've heard it here. So if you ever see me doing something
Hear
different,
me now, believe me later.
right, it will be that way. The idea, get the team, help the team be excellent. That is what entrepreneurs do.
And
It's
I tell
different than
you,
what solopreneurs do.
I am still hard headed, y'all. I don't mind admitting it. And it's, and it may be just because of some things that I've decided not to do, or the stage of life, or whatever it is, right? Do I want to work that hard? All these kind of things. But I can appreciate different models and approaches. And, I'm leaning heavily on automation and all these different things, right? I'll buy some.
Yep.
I tried to buy some software yesterday, Rob, and my credit card company says this is from somewhere we have never seen,
Ah!
and they were like, Thank goodness they did, because they tried to charge me $200 more.
Oh, wow.
Some stuff that was like, wait a minute, I didn't buy it for this. I was buying it for that. Anyway, another story. But that becomes when you are asking, again, from Benjamin Hardy, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and what's the other
Dan
guy?
Sullivan.
Dan Sullivan. Who, not how. Now I've added a other segment. Who, what, not how. What should be running this? And I will never forget when I was listening to a guy who was built a multi-billion-dollar business. He said, and I was on a podcast or something like that, and he said that immediately what they introduce is software. Immediately. He said, because he said, people, it's gonna be problems. It's gonna be, I gotta get more people. He says, but if I started with software in mind, right now we talk about software systems, AI, whatever.
Yep.
In mind, he says, I can scale that thing tomorrow.
Exactly.
If I start with that. Now,
Yep.
Rob just told you, start with that. Even if you
Hmm.
know the business isn't revenuing out at a level, if you at least, and Gerber talks about this, he says at least put in your hierarchy chart, put in what this would look like. And I used to couldn't understand. I was like, Gerber, you're tripping. Why should I put it down and not? Because he said, not only put it there, but Chris Mather, a colleague of ours, talks about and put a price to it. Or Rob, I think that might be
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
you put
yeah. Put
a
a price there. How much
price
is it?
on
How
it.
much are you gonna pay that person?
How much would I,
Yep.
not that $7 an hour stuff. Come on.
Mm-mm.
What would you
Right.
pay that person? And
Right.
then see if the business can do it for you.
That's the key. And because the whole thing about it, and this is the thing that most people don't forget, right? And Stephen Covey talks about this in Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. You have to begin with the end in mind. The question you have to ask yourself is your vision you wearing all of these hats? If
Mm,
it is, okay, cool. Do your thing. You do you, right? Right. As Bruce used to say, it looks good on you. But at the end of the day, I am not building businesses so that I am doing all of this stuff. I'm building businesses so that the business is doing good in the world and making this even after I'm long gone. And
I
if
love it.
that's the end that I have in mind, then I have to start thinking about it and start conceiving of it and conceptualizing it from that perspective, and then reverse engineer how we get from here to there. That's
And
the reason
that's that
why. And I
10x way.
love that's the 10x way. And I love there's a point that you made about software. And I think that I don't want it to go over anybody's head or to be missed. The key thing is not that you are trying to, that it has to be people. It can be software, it can be systems, it can be whatever. The key thing that you want to pay attention to is how is it not you? Unless your end is that you want it to be you. If your end is that you want it to be you, and like I said, be my guest, do you. But if your end is that you want it to be getting done without you, then you have to conceive of, is it being done by a person? Is it being done by a software? Is it being done by a conglomeration or
Yes.
a
Yes.
combination of the two? But you have to think about that and set that up from the beginning. I will never start a business again without saying who's going to be doing this,
I
who
love
is
that.
the who, what is the what that's going to be doing this, and not just the actual task. And what's the system that supports that task? Is it going to need a
Mhm.
manager? Is it going to need an auditor? Is it going to need an accountability person? What's it going to need? And so, what's
Mhm.
the system that I need to create to build this thing through so that this can be done consistently over time and be giving that value at a sustainable level of cost? Then, and only then, will I start the business. If I can't figure that out, guess what? I don't start the business. I go get people that can figure that out and work with me to start the business. That's where your team comes in. Because sometimes there's stuff that you're not going to know, right? Case in point, one of the things we wanted to do for our Legacy Moms program with with the nonprofit is to get doula services for working moms, right? For moms who are having babies and one of the things we found out in our service, just to give you a little bit of background on it, is that one of the things that a lot of moms have is a feeling of apprehension, especially second time moms. So the first time that they've had the baby, they sometimes will have a bad experience, and it's not a bad experience with the baby. It's a bad experience with the doctor, with the hospital, with their support network, whatever it is. And so that second baby then presents a lot of stress beforehand, even though afterwards they're it's old hat because they know how to take care of a baby and all the rest of that. Right? You get past that. If you ever seen those Loves commercials where it's like first baby and it's like the
Yeah, I
neurotic
saw those.
crazy parent and
Those are
second
funny.
baby, exactly right. But the birthing experience is different. So we went and we were like, we want to give this service because I remember my wife, we had a doula the second time, and the birth of my son was completely different than the birth of my daughter the first time. So we want to give that. But here's the thing: I don't know nothing about doula, not a thing, right? And I don't know nothing about being pregnant or having a baby. Haven't done it. So the point was, I couldn't conceive of the appropriate system to do this thing. It's outside of the scope of my abilities. But you know what I did have? Had somebody whose business I had coached, and guess what their business was? Doula services. They were amazing at it. And they had a vision to try to build a network of doulas in the area. And so I partnered with them. They got to do all the stuff that they're amazing at. I just gave them this vision of this is what we want at the end. She was like, that's awesome. I would love to work on that. She came on, she made it amazing. Pull together my staff and the different people that are on the board. They were excited about where we're going and what we're doing, and they wanted to do stuff. So much so that we give our legacy moms, once they have their babies, we give them a little gift basket and everything. Again, I've never had a baby. I don't know what somebody needs in a gift basket, but one of the people on the committee has had a baby. One of the people on the committee is an auntie and and has plenty of friends that have babies. And so they got and put their heads together and were like, these are the things. And they created this amazing basket. I didn't give input on anything that's in the basket,
So it's
but it's awesome.
you don't have to always now. Okay, all right. We don't want to go too far. We just wanted to make sure that we were able to entice you to understand that sometimes when you ask for the big goal, it comes. So have something in place, right? And give you just a couple examples of how it's happened and show you that it could happen faster than you think. In other words, your business can increase faster. Now, I've seen it both ways. I've seen it go right faster than we think, and you kind of go, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" And so we want to make sure that in today's workshop, podcast, whatever you want to call it, is that we able to entice you to understand, put some stuff in place.
Oh,
Because that thing
there's
gives you what you
one more
want.
thing.
Go
There's
ahead.
one more thing that we forgot that we were talking about earlier, and I want to make sure we get in here. And that is, remember that going 10x is going to take you out of your comfort zone.
Oh yeah.
And remember that it's taking you out of your comfort zone because what 10x is actually outside of your comfort zone. And the journey is taking you out of your comfort zone to help you get comfortable in that new comfort zone.
That's like, oh, okay. I learned to swim not by taking lessons, but just kind of like watching and then doing.
Mhm.
And you hear, I was reading some of Paul Graham's stuff, right? The Y Combinator, creator of Y Combinator. And he's
Mhm.
got a bunch of these lessons, and he talks about the only way to get better at a thing in most cases is doing.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm not going to throw you into the water not having seen how to swim, not understanding the mechanics, because you're going to drown. You're going to panic. But when we talk about that 10x stuff, you know a couple of things. You know some of the mechanics. Now you get in an uncomfortable enough situation that you very rapidly have to get better and
Right.
ask questions. What will get me better faster? Right?
Yeah.
What would I need to use? Who would I need to talk to
Mhm. Mhm.
faster? What would I
Yeah.
need to do to get a level of proficiency? Watch when you
Right.
read the book yourself.
Mhm.
Watch what he talks about at the beginning, talking about Michelangelo and how he
Mhm.
said he wasn't great at first. He got great because watch that.
Yeah. And to that point that Randy made is when you get into that uncomfortable space, it forces you to ask different questions. It forces you to see different things. It forces you to experience different things. And the key, so many people feel like, well, why is this happening to me? And there's a Tony Robbins says it. I know somebody else probably said it too, but I've heard it from Tony Robbins, so I'm gonna say Tony Robbins says it. One of the questions that he asks people, and he says, or one of the statements that he gives to people is, "Life doesn't happen to us. Life happens for us."
For
And
us.
it's your job when you're in that discomfort, when you're in that space. Randy and I were talking about it before when we were getting that overwhelm and that anxiety. The lens that you have to see that through is, what is this preparing me for?
Mm-hmm.
What is this trying to teach me? Because if you remember, careful what you wish for, because that thing is going to require different things of you. And so life is going to start preparing you for that thing well before you have it.
Yeah. And it does it in weird ways, y'all. No matter who you pray to, life will throw you some stuff and you'd be like, God, what you doing? And it says, I'm preparing you. It's like
Exactly.
what you think is forever is a shortcut for me. So I need to get
Hmm.
you better. I've experienced it. in my own life and in very personal ways where he says, I needed to round you out because you were becoming
Mhm.
very square in terms of your approaches. You were all business, you had no, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but this thing will make you round. It will chip
Mhm.
off those corners because eventually I'm going to need you to roll. Ah,
Yep.
hey, that's it, y'all. That's all I have for you.
All right. Awesome. 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 Great talk today.
All right, let's
Hope
talk
that y'all take
again.
some value from it.